Hi there, this is Damian David with Healthcare Triangle. Welcome back to Week in Review. It's the week of October 5th, 2020. You know the drill by now. I'm going to start off with some headlines. We're going to toggle over to a video call I had with one of our colleagues from AcmeWare, Ian Proffer. He's going to tell us a little bit about some of the education sessions that he's been doing online to help benefit anybody going to Expanse. It helps you kind of understand the migration, helps you understand what to expect for reporting analytics when you get to Expanse. It can be a really great, smooth transition. It helps you know what to focus on as you prepare for the journey to Expanse with Meditech, or as you kind of put your strategy together and are about to start the project. So a lot of times, sometimes people will put off to the side any thought around reporting analytics until they're into the project. This just lets you get ahead of the curve, if you will. It assures for a much smoother transition potentially. So definitely worth checking out. He reviews a little bit what he's going to cover in some of these webinars. Also, if you're interested in the sessions, you want to register them or become participants, I've left that information in the description and the notes for Week in Review. They do have a couple other sessions coming up down the road in the next couple weeks and next couple months as well. Very valuable sessions if you are looking to make that move to Meditech Expanse and want to know and have a little bit clearer understanding of reporting and analytics and how to make that a smoother transition. So here we go. And then after that, we're going to get to some music and some visions around the world. So let's get into the headlines this week. This week was real interesting. President and Melania Trump tested positive for COVID-19. It's something that I'm sure the whole world is kind of keeping their eye on. Another interesting tidbit there is that they were both given an 8-gram dose of Regeneron's experimental monoclonal antibody treatment. This is a treatment that's not yet available to the public or anybody else for that matter. So we're going to keep our eyes on this and see how that pans out as both the treatment and then to see also if it's effective and it becomes something that is opened up to become available for the rest of the general public after proper diligence and in testing. Okay. The new coronavirus relief deal is still being worked as Democrats and Republicans still work on trying to hash out the details here. Latest deal may include another round of $1,200 stimulus checks to the public, which both sides seem to actually already agree on, as well as a relief package that may help the airline companies continue to operate with lower volumes due to the whole pandemic experience. Trump tweeted that it seems like we're close to a deal. I think people are still making strides towards the deal getting done. And Pelosi is actually noting or making statements as to the opposite. So she thinks we're a little bit further away from a deal. We have yet a little bit more for the two sides to agree on. So I don't know, maybe some more information. It might be completely done by the next time I see you for the next Week in Review. I don't know. I'll follow up though. New York City's back in the news. They've seen a new spike in COVID-19 cases, and because of that, they're reversing the reopening plans until they can kind of regain control of the spread of COVID-19. So at first, a couple weeks ago, they started reopening everything. Now they're minimizing the risk and the exposure by hampering down on some of those reopening plans. So don't travel and don't plan any travel to New York City anytime soon. Another headline in the NFL, Sunday's game. So yesterday, the game between the New England Patriots and the Kansas City Chiefs, that was delayed, canceled on Sunday, pushed off until Monday. So it's going to take place on Monday night this evening. And because of that, it's going to push back the already scheduled Monday night football game an hour or two so that they can get a double header in there. The reason being is because the Patriots' Cam Newton tested positive for COVID-19, and then also Jordan Ta'amu of the Chiefs had tested positive as well. So minor delay, minor change in NFL again. Another headline, is it COVID-19 or are you just dealing with a cold, the flu, or allergies? So in the news this week is some of the issues with people just getting sick in general, non-COVID related, and how you are able to distinguish that from COVID-19 coronavirus. Some of the suggestions and tips out there are to really just work with your PCP a little bit closer, your primary care provider, get to know them better. It seems though you might be working with them a little bit more through these times, especially if you're experiencing different symptoms from different colds or flus or allergies. And it seems that it's easier to work with somebody that you know well than total strangers. So spend some time, see if you can get a little bit closer to your primary care. I think you'll actually most likely, if you have symptoms, you'll be speaking and communicating with them back and forth in their team more often than you might have had in the past. Okay. Let's see. Also, some of the precautions that are suggested, are get your vaccines, get them early. Make sure that you're up to date on your flu vaccines, any of your pneumonia vaccines that you normally take. Get those out of the way. So start it before it even stops for those two areas. Allergies, when it comes to your allergies, simply treat them before you get the symptoms. So they're saying that might make sense to work with your primary care provider to already get on some non-sedating antihistamines or steroidal nasal sprays prior to starting to get your symptoms, so that way there's no confusion. So if you can avoid those allergy symptoms, then there's not a confusion whether or not it's your simple allergies or if you have to worry about COVID-19 tested. Okay. Also, if you don't have a thermometer yet, go get one. So you'll believe me, you'll use it a lot this year, whether you have kids in school and you want to know ahead of time before you get to the doors of the school if they're going to be okay to get in, to using it yourself too. So it's a huge indicator of whether or not it's a simple allergy case or if it's actual potentially COVID-19 if you've been exposed to somebody. So go ahead and get one. And then, as always, I plead with you and I ask you, please wear your mask, wash your hands, and stay socially distanced. All right. So with that video call, after I get through the statistics here that I do on a weekly basis, the video call is with Acme Ware's Ian Proffer about a session that happens actually tomorrow. So Tuesday, October 6, 2020. It's going to start at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. It goes for quite a while. There's more information to it. It is the DR301 Conversion to Expanse Education Session. If you're interested in getting involved with that, it's already kind of a full class, but there may or may not be a couple seats left over. If you're interested in it after you hear the video call coming up, please reach out to Ian. I've also left some links to the Acme Wear website, which you can get into contact with those folks and potentially get yourself into that class or a future one coming up that will also cover the topic or other topics related to reporting, analytics, and Meditech. All right. So let's get to the statistics. This week, COVID-19 stats. Worldwide cases are up to 35.2 million cases we've seen since the start of this. Last time I had talked about the statistics, which was a few weeks ago, I had to take a couple weeks off here. Among other things happening, I turned a little bit older, so pardon me for taking a week off. Last time I had mentioned some of these statistics, we were only sitting at 28.2 million total cases around the world that we've seen. And now, again, we're up to 35.2 million around the world since this all started. Of that, 24.5 million have recovered. Last time I talked to you, we were just sitting at 19 million recoveries around the world. And now the death toll for COVID-19 related deaths, if you will, are 1.04 million. So we've eclipsed 1 million deaths around the world for COVID-19. Last time I had spoke to you, we were just sitting under that at about 910,000 deaths. So if we narrow the results in the statistics just to the United States alone, what we're seeing is we're up to 7.44 million cases in the US that we've seen. Last time I talked to you, we were just sitting at 6.42 million cases. And we're up to 210,000 COVID-19 related deaths in the US. Last time I spoke to you, we were just sitting at 192,000 deaths. So please be diligent, wear your mask, wash your hands. Let's take care of each other and try to get these numbers down. With that said, I had a great conversation with Ian Proffer. I love talking to him. It's just some people out there that just expose some of the things that you might be a goofball for, and I had fun with Ian this week. So yeah, be sure to check it out in the next couple of minutes here. We talk about a little bit about the education session he's got coming up tomorrow, like I mentioned before. Yeah, always a pleasure to speak with Ian. So without further ado, let's switch over now to the video call. Ian Proffer, good to see you. How you doing?
I'm well, Damien. How are you?
Good, good. I like your background there. Looks like West Coast, so good. I'm sure.
West Coast. Can you be more specific? Because there's a couple of clues.
I see some. Was it Mount St. Helens back there?
You haven't been here up here before, have you, Damien?
No, I have not.
That's Mont Rainier.
Is about right. That's the taller one.
And
Yeah.
that's the Space Needle, of course, which is
The
yes,
Space Needle I'm more familiar with. I can't see I don't see where they have the Fisherman's Pier though. That's not in the picture.
I don't think it's in the picture. Yeah, and it's full disclosure, it's not my photo. It's sort of, Google Seattle skyline images, and that's what you get. So.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, thanks for joining me. Appreciate it. Hey, one of the things that I heard about recently is Acme Ware has been putting on this new session, if you will, an educational opportunity. I'm pretty excited about it. I think it's great value for especially Meditech folks, people that are moving from a legacy Meditech platform like Magic or client server to Expanse or Mass. Just kind of updating and getting up to speed on how to handle data, their information, their analytics, etc. Can you shed a little bit of light on it? Tell me what it is that you're doing. It's a little bit different than the past, from my understanding. Why you've taken this format, and then perhaps maybe who should consider putting it in their diet, seeing it's coming up next week. Maybe they want to take some time and attend it.
Sure. Well, let's see. So we've done training for clients and potential clients, that is training and education around data repository and reporting analytics from Meditech. I think our first class was actually 2001, if I go in the Wayback Machine. So it's been a while, and we haven't done it at a significant volume of it. We might do 2 or 3 in-person classes a year on site at a hospital. And of course, we're not able to do that anymore. That's changed. We actually had a class scheduled in April up in northeastern Vermont. When we scheduled it probably in January, needless to say, we couldn't go do the class. So right. We had been bouncing around the idea because several people had asked about, well, can I take a webinar? Can I take it online? And the logistics of doing it initially didn't make sense, but we sort of had to adapt because of coronavirus. So we put together some content that we could deliver online in a live webinar format. Our typical classes we used to do in person were 2 full days, and we realized that's going to be, no one wants to sit right in front of Teams or Zoom for 2 full days, 2 full work days. So we kind of parceled it down to 6 to 7 hour sessions. So we can deliver the content online in sort of an interactive format with smaller groups, but much more frequently. So that new format really is a result of the pandemic, of course, us not being able to travel to client sites. They come to us effectively. It also lets us, without getting too much into the marketing speak, we're able to offer it at a much lower price than our typical on-site class. So people can go onto our website, they can look at the schedule, pick a class, pay via PayPal, and they're good to go. Right now, we have 3 different classes. The first 2 are really geared just broadly to data repository. So that is to say, they're not specific to Expanse or Mass. They're like a true beginning data repository reporting class. We teach about DR, we teach about SQL Server, and then there's an intermediate level class that kind of follows up on that one. And we try to position those so they apply to any platform. So Magic, Client Server, 6.0, 6.1, or Expanse. The third class, the one we're doing next week, is really positioned more specifically to talk about Expanse and the differences in the data repository schema, really in 6.1 and Expanse, anything following 6.1. And that's because the database repository, the DR schema changes significantly. That's a direct reflection of more applications for Meditech moving from the old NPR language to I think what Meditech still calls the focused programming language, or the MAT platform. So that includes admissions is no more, that becomes reg or registration. MRI becomes HIM. Abstracting and bar are now all in the new platform, basically. So if you think about those applications, that's where a lot of patient data, demographics, diagnostic stuff comes from. So it's significantly different in 6.1 and Expanse, and this class is really positioned to help people who are either planning to move to that platform. So ideally, they can proactively start to look at, say, existing NPR reports and determine what do we want to consider rewriting out of data repository. Also for clients, we've had a client take it who was already on 6.1 to sort of learn the schema more in depth. Yes, they went live with 6.1, but they still realize there might be a significant amount of work to do to convert some old NPRs into data repository-based reports. So I think the necessity too is born out of the fact that while NPR doesn't go away, I think that's a fairly common, I don't know if it's an urban legend, but what happens to NPR? It's still there, but it only will really work with the legacy applications that still live in NPR, so like lab and pharmacy, for example. And there is Report Designer, which of course has been around since 6.0. It's a very different reporting platform. In other words, if you're going to have to rewrite your NPRs from abstracting, from emissions, from bar, our position is you're better served by rewriting those to run out of data repository than using Report Designer for different reasons. But what we're finding as we work with clients and helping them with their migrations is they may have 200 or 300 a lot of hospitals who have had Magic or client server for 20 years or more. They have hundreds of NPRs they have to convert. Whether it's convert to Report Designer or ideally convert to run out of data repository, that's a lot of work to plan for.
Yeah, sure.
And it pays to be proactive, to think about migrating those ahead of time rather than let's deal with it after we go live, because we have a lot of other stuff on our plate, which is certainly true for any hospital.
Yeah, I definitely see the value of getting ahead of the ball, if you will, like, doing the front loading of the work so that way when you go live, the end users have instant access to some of the analytics and some of the information they're used to in the past. It just makes it a smoother transition from what I've seen on our side too. So I think it's a great idea. I also think it's very valuable for those who, as you mentioned, are already gone live with the new platform that are kind of looking to go back now and either refresh and relearn or relearn for the first time, if you will, where things lay. So I'm pretty excited about it. Again, next week, what day, time?
Tuesday, October 6th. We start at 10 a.m. Eastern, which is an accommodation for me because you can guess what time zone I'm in, perhaps, Pacific time. So it's an early day for me when we get started anyway at 7 o'clock for me. But yeah, we've got a couple people signed up, and there's still room for a few more, so we're kind of excited about it.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll leave the registration links into the description in the notes in this week in review. So anybody that's interested, I think it's definitely going to be worth the time registering, getting involved with that, and seeing what's going on. So yeah, sure. The more information will be at that link for those that were looking to participate. All right. I usually like to ask a hot seat question for folks I talk to on the video chat. Are you ready for it, Ian?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, let's give it a go. So if you could meet anyone, either in history or in current times, and you could spend a half hour with them, who would it be and what would you do?
Oh, history or current times. I didn't realize I could include current times. Boy. And I have to give a politically correct answer. So there's some current people.
You don't have to.
There's some current people I would like to give a stern talking to, but we'll avoid that. Well, let's see. I will go with Mark Twain.
Good one.
AKA, well, Samuel Clemens, AKA nice. Mark Twain. I've read a lot of him. Certainly in college, I majored in English literature in college. Don't ask me how I got here. Tremendously useful major. I'll just say that. That's the part where you're going to dub in a crowd laughing when I said that, right? Okay. But it's not just so much as an author. He was like a social commentator sort of extraordinaire, right? He would go out and give a lecture, isn't really the right word. He would just go out and regale theaters full of people with social commentary stories, and you were never sure, not that I was there, of course, but I read about it. You were never sure like what was real and, talking about current culture, current sociology, current politics versus what is he kind of embellishing or making up entirely. So I find that fascinating. Someone who is, obviously a great writer, but also just sort of up on his times culturally, politically, and could comment on that and talk about that at length and on a stage, in a theater full of hundreds of people potentially. So
that's a great answer. Nobody said that yet, and I love it because I know him to be quite prolific when it comes to body of work and everything, all the experience that you can have with Mark Twain. So I appreciate your answer. That's a great one.
Sure. Who else is on the list, if I may ask?
Let's see. Who people said the typical healthcare ones. Jeez, I'm gonna have to go back and review. I totally forget.
I'm
Put me on
putting
the
you. I'm
spot.
putting you on the hot
As
seat.
you can tell,
Damien.
I don't perform too well on the hot seat. But
Who would you go spend? Who would you go have coffee with for half an hour?
current times would be Tony Hawk. Oddly enough, like the man just fascinates me. He was a professional
Skateboard? Is that
skater.
skateboard or
Yeah,
snowboarding? Skating. Okay, got it.
skateboarding. Yeah, just for some reason that guy finds himself into all walks of life. He's like wildly successful at everything he does, and he seems to be pretty cool. So I'd probably chat with him for 30 minutes, maybe get him to teach me to or relearn how to drop in, if you will, on one of those half pipes. That'd be fun. But we see. It might take me a little bit longer than a half hour to recover. We'll see. But yeah, nobody's asked me that. So there you go.
All right, very good.
Well, hey, Ian, great catching up with you. I hope next week goes excellent for you. I'll touch base with you after. And again, I'll have information in the description. So if anybody's interested in participating, learning more about how to register for that, have at it. It'll be at the link. Look forward to talking to you again in the near future. And yeah, Rainier versus St. Helens. Now I got it in my mind. I only forget once.
Well,
So.
St. Helens is more recognizable because you're going to go look it up when we're done, right? It's basically a big hole. I mean, remember
Right,
blew its
because
top
it
back in
already blew
1980,
up,
so
right?
it's
Yeah, yeah. There you go. Now I know. All right, Ian. Great seeing you. Great talking to you. Thanks so much. I'll talk to you later.
all right. Thanks, Damien. You too.
Again, special thanks to Ian Froffer and the folks at Acme Wear. I hope you guys have a great session tomorrow. And again, if you're interested in that session or other sessions that they have in relations and in regards to reporting and analytics for Meditech's Expanse platform, please check out the information, the details to get to their link to their website and see some of those offerings that are coming up in the notes and description below. With that said, again, thank you for all your efforts towards the folks in the community. I don't know. I know it's been exhausting. What a year so far, and no end in sight. It doesn't seem like, but keep up the diligence, keep up the hard work, stay safe, and we'll see you next week. Here's some music. Take care.
Just let life pass us by. So we moved 1,000 miles to find a place where we call home. And here we are. Here we are.